The reason I'm excited, and I hope will always be excited about our Messiah, is because I didn't come from a Pentecostal family. I came from a very religious Hindu family. And so I grew up. A debilitating sickness took over my body. I'm not even sure what age it was, but it was gradual. I became very sick in my body. I graduated college and I started to work, but this sickness was so bad that I would just collapse for no reason. And so all I could think of is I needed to be healed, but I didn't know how, so I went to temples. I remembered that many years ago, people would come to my door and give me a tract, Jesus Saves. I didn't know who Jesus was, and I certainly wasn't interested in another God. I had many already, thank you. And so when the pain ravaged and it became so bad that me passing out and collapsing, the doctors thought they had a tumor in my brain. They just, some of them, and then they did CAT scan. They did all kinds of scans and testing. They couldn't find out why that this pain was just growing and debilitating, and there was no cure. That all they did was they gave me a bottle of painkillers. You know, if you take 4 a day, you might be able to manage it. I didn't want to manage it. I wanted to cure it. And so I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe if I took the whole bottle, I'll manage it real good. I'd die, and then, you know, no life, no pain. You know, when you're desperate, you think thoughts like that. When you're desperate and there's no answer and hope is just a dream or talk, you think things like that. So I was desperate. So probably on the last day of my life on this planet, or at least according to my plans, I was sitting in my room. It was late, probably 10:30, 11 o'clock. I had not taken any medication. I was just in so much pain. And then I remembered a tract, Jesus Saves. I also remembered a Christmas card that I once received. I don't know why, who would even send me a Christmas card. We didn't celebrate Christmas. But in that, again, it says Jesus, Savior. I'm like, you know what? What have I got to lose? What have I got to lose? Nobody would know. They're not going to find out. I'll call him. See if he hears me. See if he even knows me. Lights were switched off. It was time to go to bed. But I sat up, shaking in pain. And I cried out, Jesus! Nothing happened at first. I tried again, Jesus! And in that darkened room, there was this light. It could not have come from a street light because there were no street lights outside that house that we lived in Malaysia. And a light just penetrated the room. I never saw a face, but there was a form that filled the entire room, a light and a voice. The first and only time that I've ever heard him audibly. Nowadays, it's in my spirit, and I thank God for that voice. But that day, when I cried out to him and told him I need healing in my body, that voice rang out in my room. I am Jesus. I am God. And the pain in my body that I had for many years, that I'd become accustomed to, was healed. In an instant, the pain was gone. So early the next morning, my mother knocks on my door. Opened it. I said, yes, Mom. She said, what do you mean, yes, Mom? Why aren't you dressed? I'm like, for what? She looked at me like I lost my mind. She said, we're going to the temple to do prayers. You know, get dressed. And I grabbed her hand. I said, Mom, I can't go. She said, why not? You sick? Boy, that day I wish I had the flu or something. Something to blame on. Yes, I'm sick. Leave me alone. I couldn't lie. Don't know why. I looked at her and I said, I can't go to the temple, Mom, because Mom, I saw Jesus. And my mom really then looked at me like I lost my mind. My dad came down and said, why aren't you ready? I said, I'm not going to the temple. I'm sorry. Forgive me, but I cannot go to the temple. My mother said, when I come back, we will talk. All I knew was to get a hold of that name that you know, that no matter how hard it gets, you can get a hold of that name. I said, Jesus, help me. I don't know what to say or what to do when they come back from the temple. They came back. My mother ran upstairs, got my little suitcase, put as many clothes as she can. She said, you've got to leave us now. You can't live here anymore. You can't live with us. Could not go back to my parents' house anymore. I would call birthdays, Mother's Day, and she would just hang up. She was a good lady, you know. My mother's not a mean person at all. She just felt betrayed. She didn't know how to handle me or handle it. She'd just hang up as soon as she heard my voice. And so 1 year had passed. I'd gone for Bible studies. I was baptized in Jesus' name. I received the Holy Ghost. 1 year had gone by. Never heard from them. My dad calls me. He calls me. He says, hello. I said, Dad. He said, look, your mother doesn't know I'm calling you. I said, okay. I thought something bad had happened. He said, he was a very successful businessman. He said, there was some things in the business, some investments that could be lost, but I'm very worried about it. But for some reason, when I slept last night, I closed my eyes and you came to my mind. I said, me? He said, yes. We never even talk about you. But you came into my mind and I was compelled to call you. I don't even know why. And the Lord spoke to me and said, but you do. I said, Dad, I don't have that kind of answers that you need for your investment in your business, but I know one thing. I know that someone that could give you peace through it all. He may even be able to fix the issue, but most importantly, He will fix your heart. And my father said, oh, no, I'm not coming to your church. And no. I said, Dad, you don't have to come to church. Just come to meet me at the parking lot. I said, okay. So he met me at the parking lot outside our church. And he was there and he wound down the window. And I said, Dad, it's really hot here. He said, so what do you want me to do? I said, well, it's a weekday, Dad. There's no church. There's no church in the middle of the Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday evening. Come upstairs. There's air conditioning in that room, in the church room, and at least we can sit and talk peacefully and nobody will disturb us. But it's hot in the parking lot. He said, all right. We went into the church and there was air. I wasn't lying about that. What I didn't know was Tuesday night was prayer meeting night. Dad walked in to the foyer and into the room and he looked at everybody praying. They didn't mind him at all. They were just up in the front of the sanctuary like this, praying and just connecting to God. He sat right at the back. I sat with him. And as soon as he sat down, he started crying and he's saying, what is that? I said, what's what? He said, what is that? I don't know what I'm feeling in here. It's like so thick. It's something. And I can't stop crying. And one of the people, it was a little old lady. She just asked me, she said, is it a friend, a relative? I said, it's my father. She said, oh, okay. And then she just said, tell him to just lift up his hand. I said, all right. I was a new convert, remember, 1 year. And then I looked at him and said, Dad, do you want to just sort of lift up your hand a little bit? And he just complied. My dad doesn't comply. And then that little old lady at that time just came in front, still didn't touch him, just extended his hand towards him and began to just whisper in that heavenly language. My father began to open his mouth and then he stood up with his hands and opened his mouth. God filled him with the baptism of the Holy Ghost. He was shaking. He didn't know what was going on. And he looked at me. He said, is this what you've been doing all this while? I said, yes. He said, is this why you left everything and came to this Jesus? I said, yes. He said, I don't blame you. Mom began to communicate with me and receive my phone calls and begin to talk to me. Today she's my best friend. I mean, she'll call me for everything.